1 in 40,000 bands will get a major label deal, and of the 1 in 40,000, 1 in 12 will actually make money at it.
So how long have you been in the music game?
30 years ago. Then I started teaching guitar when I was 16. I saw Jethro Tull. I loved them as a teenager.
Yeah.
I just loved them. And when I saw them live, it was like, oh, like they're really human. It wasn't that great. It was okay. A lot of these bands, they're spending so much to promote, to produce, all that stuff that they're not really making money.
So you've seen so much of different people with finger styles, different guitars, different likes as far as music and stuff like that. So you know, like, oh, you want to play this? This is what you got to do.
So much of the stuff, the instrument makes a big difference.
All right.
You know, you play the sitar and it sounds like Indian music just right off the bat.
So from a business point of view, with you teaching, how long have you been doing this?
It's my 40th year.
40th year
Yeah.
teaching. You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Bradley Fish of Bradley Fish Music. So Bradley, how is it going today?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Man, we are in your studio and holy cow, we got all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
You're teaching me how to play guitar, which is great. And let's just start with what is Bradley Fish Music, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, it's me, really. It's just the big name to make
Show's
it sound
over,
important. Yeah, we're done. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, you'll have to give them some B-roll of the studio later.
Yeah, this is awesome.
There's a live stream room. You can kind of see through the window, maybe. I don't know if the camera will show it, but back there's like a dozen cameras and then lots of weird ethnic instruments from all over the world.
Yeah, so lots of strings.
Lots of great, and percussion, you know. And then back there is like a jam room with like, you know, a rock band set up, a couple Marshall stacks, a couple drum sets, a couple PA systems, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
Thanks. And then this room is actually, you were asking me about the speakers. It's a Dolby Atmos setup. So there's like 11 speakers and a subwoofer. And there's like, it's like a new 3-dimensional, I mean, not super new, but it's just kind of getting out there. It's a newer format where you can do like a surround sound in 3 dimensions. So
very cool.
Yeah. And so like some of the new movie theaters and some of the new electric cars have the fancy electric cars. They'll have them. It'll translate to that. So if you're doing a mix and you want things to move around in 3D, that lets you do it.
So this is a step above or beyond THX?
I don't know what THX is. Is that kind
of? I remember the movie theaters. I used to work at the theater years ago, and it was a big deal when THX came out.
Probably. I know like there's what's really common, like a surround sound, like a 5.1 surround is common. Yep. So this is like the next dimension where you also have height. Yeah, and you've got things behind you also. So you got speakers behind you, above you. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, 3D, pretty cool. It's like a globe.
So it's funny because when I was in high school, I was a little audiophile. I read the magazines, but I didn't have the money to pursue. So I just bought some used Sir Vegas speakers. I thought they were the best thing in the world. I still think they're pretty awesome. And I remember the big ones up front, and then you had little guys in the back for surround sound.
Yeah.
And then center channel came out, and woo, and then subwoofers, blah, blah, blah. So this is next level.
Yeah, I'll give you a tour later, but yeah, like that's your center, left, right, and you can probably see, I don't know if the camera shows it, but in the tops you've got left, right, and then on the sides, left, right, and then behind you, left, right, if you're facing that way, and then you've got the ceiling. So yeah, it goes all around.
And these are all the same speaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get the same kind of. You're not getting color from having different brands or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's awesome. So how long have you been in the music game?
Well, I'm getting old, so this is...
We all are.
Let's see. So I'm 300 now.
That's awesome.
I started... I guess I played my first gig when I was 14.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to subject anybody to that gig, but I did. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. And then I started teaching guitar when I was 16.
Holy cow.
And I did a degree in guitar, in college.
All right.
And I was doing all sorts of different types of gigs, like theatrical accompaniment, a dance accompaniment, you name it, rock bands, folk bands, all sorts of stuff. I mean, anything you can imagine. And then, I've just been doing it the whole time. I got into music production. I got into a lot of the kind of teaching, coaching stuff. And I used to tour like with acoustic type of stuff, sometimes solo, sometimes bring some bands and do like college gigs.
Okay.
Or whatever gigs we got.
Yeah, anything that would pay.
Whatever, yeah, exactly. And I just kept following. It seemed like whether I was like half my income would come from performing and half teaching, or half would come from producing and half teaching. And eventually I kind of realized like the teaching part was kind of, it just kind of fit me. And so more and more I've kind of gravitated into that, I think, for just my personality. And you get older, you're like, I don't know if I want to drive to the University of North Dakota this week. It sounded like a great idea when I was 26. Right now, funny. I'm like, so.
So when you would perform, how do you get the gigs?
Wow.
You just call them up and you're like, hey, I got a guitar and a personality.
Right. So, it's interesting. There was also, so as far as the college gigs, I used to, there was this thing called NACA. They're still around. It's like National Association of Campus Activities. Okay. And you would submit a VHS tape back in the day. And I'm sure today it's all digital. And you would if you got selected to showcase, it was super competitive. Everyone wanted to get these gigs because they paid well and they were kind of high profile. I mean, you play, it'd be like here in Madison, it's like the Terrace or the Rathskeller, right? Yeah. And that's probably one of the nicer ones. A lot of times you're just in the lunchroom of some college or whatever. But
who's this guy playing?
Who's this guy? Yeah, whatever. But sometimes too, you'd be like opening for national acts and you'd be outdoors and it'd be a huge party and it could be really cool. And back then, I used to get the roving artist showcases all the time, which was kind of the lowliest of the showcases, honestly. But I used to do I was also a street musician. I did that for a living for a couple.
And you're talking about hanging out on the street with your guitar case open?
Kind of, yeah. Like jamming. I'd go hit the farmer's market in Madison or whatever. And like I used an amp. I play these I do a lot of weird ethnic instruments. So I'd be playing dulcimer or my Chinese zither or a bunch of stuff at once. Bells on my feet, whatever. Yeah. And like kind of a one-man band, almost like a drummer, but with stringed instruments mostly. And like people ate it up. I made a living doing it for a few summers. So I would kind of take that act to those universities. They'd come out of the elevator at the NACA conference and they'd be like, what is this, dude? and I would get booked to a lot of Midwestern college shows.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. And then also from doing the street stuff back then, I used to get gigs. And that led to a lot of like bar or club type gigs. And that kind of led to opening acts and like, I remember I was doing, I'm thinking back when I was like 23, I did the Club de Wash. If you remember that place, it burned down.
I don't. Club de Wash. That's.
Oh, how long have you been in Madison area?
24 years.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it might have been before your time, actually. Yeah. I'm that old. So like, this is probably like, it probably burnt down like 30 years ago.
Oh, man. Okay.
Maybe a little more. It was an amazing complex. But anyways, so I hosted an acoustic jam, which was kind of like a glorified open mic. Like there were open mic spots, but then there were featured acts that maybe were touring through the area that I could get up there to play like kind of acoustic stripped down sets. And there were guest artists that were like pros that I could pay a little bit to kind of back me up. And it was kind of like a little jam. If someone was really good, maybe I'd go play with them or whatever. And I would play that. It's like a really fun little club show. But then there'd be all these national acts coming through, including guys that I was like, who the hell is Dave Matthews? Like, I'm not going to go. Or like Alanis Morissette, I've never heard of her. I'm not going. I could have gone for free.
Funny.
Isn't that funny? I didn't even know who they were. There was no internet. You know what I mean? And you're just like,
you don't know.
I never heard of her. So, but those kind of bands would be coming through this little club in Madison. And every once in a while, like I remember Merle Saunders from Jerry Garcia Band. He was touring and he was doing 3 nights in a row at the Club de Wash, and they're like they hit me up, they're like, we're really sorry, Bradley, like we got to cancel your Monday jam because he's going to do a 4th night.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, I'd love to open for him, but we have a contract. Like you gotta we got to do something here.
Yeah.
And they're just like, "Grr," and they talk to the promoter, and he's like, Bradley, and then I'd open for Merle, and then the drummer's like, hey, that's really cool. What is that weird instrument? Can I jam with you? Like, yeah, get up here. And like,
oh, that's awesome.
Before you know it, I'm like sitting in or he's sitting with me, and then he's bringing me to sit in with the band on another gig, and these things just kind of evolved. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so I had a little bit in my 20s, I kind of just had momentum with just putting myself out there. I had boundless energy back then. And
so it's more, the more you get out there, the more you get invited to get more out there.
Yeah, you meet everybody.
It just snowballs.
Yeah, you meet the other bands. Hey, do you want to do a show together? Whatever. And just,
all right.
Yeah, so that was really, really, really fun in my 20s. And I was already teaching a lot back then. And I found that, like, even though, like, in my 20s, yeah, like I said, half my income was performing, half was teaching, but the teaching half was more calm, mellow, a little easier. The gigging was like, we're going to war, like, here we go, and it was harder. Like, it was just, and I realized that. I'm like, wow, this is and then you would meet the bands that had been doing it forever. I got to open for, like, childhood heroes that had, like, played Woodstock or were in that scene or whatever. Nice. Yeah. And like, they're whining and bitching about, can I say that on YouTube? I don't know. Yeah, it's okay. All right. So, they're whining about, like, the industry and the tour and you're like, oh my God, this is my childhood hero. Like, this is like,
and they're cranky.
They're cranky and they're old. And you're going, interesting, and I started, like, learning about, like, what's really going on. Like, back in the 90s, the stats were, it was a different thing back then, but the stats were like, I think it was like one, and I remember I was doing these little college tours and doing a lot of gigs and kind of going for it. And I read one day in an article, they're like, well, 1 in 40,000 bands will get a major label deal. And of the 1 in 40,000, 1 in 12 will actually make money at it. And I wasn't real good at maths, but I'm like, that's like 2 in a million, maybe about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what am I into? And then, like, today it's probably more like 1 in a million. But the difference is today, at least you can have a little independent thing. You can be like, well, I made 50 grand doing my little sales and this and that and my hardcore fans. And I only had 1,000 people buy from me, but they spent $50. And, like, I'm getting by or whatever. And that could be cool for an artist today. Maybe you're not on the radio. Maybe a major label would be like, oh God, you're terrible, go away. But you're cool. You're making, but that wasn't such an option back then. It was just
the internet has changed the game.
Everything's
different. There's people that got YouTube famous or Instagram famous or whatever.
Yeah,
they didn't have to go through the label.
It was different. Yeah, it's different now, but it's still a challenging industry because
no joke.
So many people want to do it. It's so incredibly crowded, and I found that, like, I don't know, by kind of like doing the teaching, and helping other people that were on that path, but having a lot of experience, like playing gigs, doing sessions for people, all these other things that were related, it gave me a lot of insight to be able to help people. Yeah, and people that were really trying to make it and stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was just what was I watching? I was watching Metallica's interview with Howard Stern.
Oh, cool.
And it was interesting because, from what I understand from the interview, they're not that good individually as musicians.
Sure.
But together and with the writing and stuff like that, they pumped out a pretty good product.
Oh, yeah.
They seem to do okay, right?
Yeah.
Alligator moats and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, like, right. It's not always about, like, it's more about, can you play your position on the team and do a good job?
Yeah.
Not like, are you Amadeus Mozart? And
right.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Like, you don't have to hit a home run every time you come up to bat kind of thing.
Right.
Which was interesting to learn that, because then you're thinking like, oh, these guys have skills. There's talent there. Yeah. But it's not like they're the best guitarists that ever walked the earth or anything like that.
Who is, yeah.
So it was interesting, I guess, from my point of view, thinking like, oh, these guys, as far as industry, you'd probably think they're top of their game. Or
they probably are.
Like were.
Yeah, or were, yeah.
But from a skill set point of view, they're bench players, kind of.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the lead guy. I'm spacing his name now. Who's the lead guitarist?
There's a Jim in there.
Well, there's James Hetfield's the rhythm guy.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank. I can see his face.
I don't know the names.
But anyway, I mean, he's a talented guy, and he'll even tell you, like, my early albums, I was just like trying to play really fast. It wasn't that good. Like, I mean, he's, they're really, they're very like open, but they, like you said, they gave people a product that they wanted, they delivered it, and I think like it's good insight because teaching, it's like, hey, you're doing this for fun, it's a hobby or something. Maybe for a lot of people, you don't have to be at some insane level to make really good music.
Right.
A lot of a lot of people.
Yeah, when you learn the 4 chords, you're like, really, that's 90% of what we need to do.
I mean, you can do a lot of good simple stuff. So and people sometimes I had a student the other day. She was doing all this great singer, talented girl, and she's learning jazz guitar, and it was really complex stuff. And I was like, what? And she was having a hard time with it. She was saying, oh, I was forgetting some chords on stage or whatever. She was doing an open mic. I was like, why don't you do a simple 3-chord blues song or a simple 3-chord country song, or, just go back to some roots. And she was like, and there was like a part of her that was a little bit like, oh, I'm so bored with that. It is so simple. And I'm like, you have no right to be bored with that. Like, it's not that easy for you. And she was like, okay, I admit it. It's like kind of an insecurity of mine, and I was like, yeah, let's fix this.
Climb the ladder.
Yeah. Right? Like, let's step back and like, just do something nice and easy. 3-4 chords, rock it out. Audiences will love it. They'll love the blues or country or whatever. Jazz will be a little bit ethereal. My degree was jazz guitar,
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's what I did in university. So like, I'm like, that's really fun for me. Sure. Let's do all the jazz tunes, but wait a sec, and anyway, but yeah, to your point, I saw Jethro Tull overseas, and they were like a childhood, like I loved them as a teenager.
Yeah.
I just loved them. And their albums were so amazing. And so, and when I saw them live, it was like peeking behind the curtain. I was like, oh, like they're really human. Like it wasn't that great. It was okay, and I'm not putting them down at all. I think they were kind of like, dude, we're like 100 years old. Like, all right, one more show. Like, let's knock it out, And it was great though, because I got to see behind the curtain. They didn't have like on the albums, everything sounds amazing. All those acoustic instruments are beautiful. And like, but when you heard them live, they're like, I just got a pickup in the guitar, whatever. Like, they weren't taking it that, super serious. They had some drummer. He was probably the 100th guy to play drums for him. He's probably getting paid whatever it was, $500 a night for the, whatever it was. Like, all right, dude, some young dude, like, you got the gig. Like, and and same kind of thing. They really humanize them. You realize a lot of these bands, they've got a lot of amazing production behind them, amazing staging. Like they write good songs, whatever it is. But yeah, people are really human.
Yeah, that's fair. Because live, it's depending. It can be like, oh, this is not worth more than the CD. I look at what ticket prices are now.
Oh God!
I was looking at the Killers in Milwaukee. They're playing at Summerfest. It was like $180 or something like that. And I'm like, I like the Killers. It'd be cool to see the Killers.
but you want to spend $200?
But $180 got me probably 150 yards away from the stage. Oh. And I'm like, that's not going to see the Killers. That's going to hear the Killers.
Yeah, right. And you still haven't gotten there yet. You haven't bought dinner.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you want to get a hotel so you don't have to cruise home at 2 a.m. or whatever. Yeah. And like,
what was interesting for me? My buddy and I were in Portland.
Okay.
And we saw, oh my gosh, her name's going to escape me now. Because he had saw this woman with his wife, and he said the concert's really cool. And I'm going to say Gladys Knight, but that's not right. I'm going to remember her name 20 minutes from now.
Put her in the comments.
Yeah. Anyways, it was interesting because she is no one that I would be like, oh, we got to go see her. We're trying to figure out what to do that night. And he's like, there's tickets here. And there's floor level, and it was like $40 or something like that. Like in an hour, the concert's happening, and they just need to get rid of these tickets. So I'm like, all right, let's try it out. And it was, though I wasn't a huge fan of her music, from a live music thing, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The coolest part was the people around you, because there were obviously people that were psycho fans.
Were they singing along?
Oh my God. Then she came down on the floor. And I swear to God, the woman next to us, if she wasn't 20-something, she would have had a heart attack. Because she was like, just freaked out in a good way.
Yeah.
And just went running to her. And I was like, it was Florence. Florence,
And the Machine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, good music, but it's not like Florence CD, right? Or whatever.
Okay, right.
But there were definitely people that we were surrounded with.
The fans were there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that was the cool part. On top of the whole stage and watching all that they had going on there, watching the musicians, like they had cool stuff going on. But there is a cool thing for me when you go to a concert to be way up front and just be surrounded by the crowd.
Yeah.
Because that kind of, even if the music sucks, you're like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Because they're having a good time. And I guess in the end, that's what it's all about.
That's cool. I mean, something that always flashes through my mind when I hear all these stories is like all the bands we're talking about right now, whether it's Metallica, Jethro Tull, Florence and the Machine, or whatever. Like, it's the 1 in 40,000, or it might even be less, right? So, like, all those bands. So, really, the other, 39,000. Exactly. And even of those bands, and they're probably even the 2 in a million or the 1 in a million, because, like, they're the ones that actually succeeded and made money and kept going.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're probably like the 1 in a million. So of the other 9,999 or whatever, they're not living in that world. You know what I mean? And like, it's a different thing. It's like you're carrying your own gear to the game. You're like, yeah, you're booking it yourself. Like, you're not royalty. You might just be playing in clubs or whatever it is, and it's a different experience. I mean,
totally.
Yeah.
I took my dad to see John Fogerty.
Oh, cool.
In Milwaukee. John Fogerty was, given his age, he's still doing well.
Yeah.
He's jamming. But the opening band, there wasn't much of a crowd. So I'm like, what's the deal here? And the opening band, my dad can't walk very well. So once we were in place, like, we're staying here. And I'm like, these guys suck.
Oh, no.
They're terrible. We learned later it was 2 of the kids of John
You're
Fogerty.
kidding me. Wow.
And the one guy that was in the back of that band, he actually played guitar with John Fogerty most of the concert.
Yeah.
He did really well. The other kid, I'm sure you're a nice person, but
wasn't that good, huh?
Brutal.
Oh, that's too bad.
Brutal.
So sometimes, even from what I understand, there's even bands that their label or whatever will pay to put them on the tour.
Oh, just to get noticed.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So they're actually paying to play.
Okay. Look at me. I suppose you got a crowd right there.
Yeah, why not?
So
right, it gets them in
advertising?
gets them in the whole thing, but then they have to pay that back out of their future royalties that they hopefully get. Hopefully they don't end up in debt or whatever.
Oh man.
Isn't that crazy?
What was the story about I don't remember if it was Salt and Pepper or In Vogue, where they ended up, or TLC maybe?
Okay.
They ended up going bankrupt?
Oh, I don't know.
Because they had to pay for all their producers and all this stuff, and
I think it's common.
That is insane,
really
right? You're
common.
like, you're a household name.
Yeah.
For a generation, maybe 2. MC Hammer.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of these bands, I mean, they're spending so much to promote, to produce, all that stuff that they're not really making money.
So help me understand the industry here, because I have no idea. Because you're like, MC Hammer, how are you going broke? You had people wearing shirts that said "Can't touch this" for 5 years, man. Like,
I mean, I don't know his story specifically, but
let's just say you get that level famous.
Yeah.
You're still paying your producers?
Sure.
Okay.
And maybe for the past how many ever, like you owe the record company that fronted out the money for all the tour support and all the tour bus and the everything, the producers, whatever they did to push you. And maybe you didn't manage your money too well because no one really taught you how to. We're in a 401k or whatever. You're like, yeah, we're partying.
I'm famous,
yeah, totally. And maybe there wasn't much to begin with anyway. Just look, I read that, like, again, we're talking about the 1 in a million here, but I think David Bowie, they put him in like limousines and tried to make him look like this huge rock star before he really had like actually.
Faking it till you make it.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff. I read that somewhere. I can't vouch for it, but that's what I read. So yeah,
that is interesting.
Yeah,
I guess I just assumed the record label would be like, "We're paying. Well, you go be famous."
They probably paid for the limos and paid for everything. They're like, and somebody saw like, okay, he'll be a good investment or whatever. But for every guy it works for, there's tons it won't. And
wow.
It's interesting. And that's where I think realistically, I guess we got off on that because I was saying like I'd open for these bands and they'd be whining because like 30, 40 years later, they're back in clubs again. It's like, oh yeah, you played Woodstock or whatever, or the Fillmore or East or whatever the hell it was. But now you're like playing this little club in Milwaukee, and
You're at the
Bradley's opening for you, and I was like, oh my God, and like I did Big Brother and the Holding Company. It was like Janis Joplin's old band, right? Of course, Janis has passed away. They had like surrogate Janices on each coast, and in Japan, they had 3 of the original members. They had some hotshot young guitar player, and they had like a back line, which just meant they showed up with their guitar or their drumsticks, and all the amps and the drums would be provided by the producer or by the promoter.
Okay.
And then they'd maybe be like, dude, we didn't say we could have that kind of amp. It said in the contract it was this amp. Oh, well, too bad. Play the show. Whatever.
Get to work.
Just get it to work. And, but I remember, like, I traded cards with that guitar player. And this is in my, I don't know, mid-20s or something. And I'm like, wow, like stars in my eyes. And he called me and he's like, hey, we're coming through. We got a gig in Minneapolis and one in Chicago. And we'd like to play Madison. And we want you to like open for us and promote it. And I was like, promote it? Like, oh, wow. And he told me what they needed to get paid. And I was like, really? Like, and now
Was it high or low?
It was low.
Okay.
And like, now this would be like their cheapest connecting gig. Like, so they're giving me their total low. And meanwhile, like I had a gig at that date in Minneapolis with my band, which was like my high, but my high was higher than their low. And I was like, oh shit, who am I? Like these guys, and so I realized, I was like, it's tough out there. It's really something. And what an industry. And so that kind of grounded me in teaching.
Right.
It's just like, okay, I kind of have this real job, that I can kind of
steady.
Yeah.
Or it's
It
your
is pretty
business,
steady,
right?
yeah.
You're not reliant
My
on
business.
the market.
Yeah.
Or producers or venues or
Yeah.
tastes of the crew. Like everyone's going to want to learn how to play guitar.
Right.
There's never going to be a need or that need go away, right?
Pretty
I don't care
much.
how bad the economy gets. People always want to learn how to play guitar.
It's amazing. And yeah, it really, and I would always kind of keep one toe or at least or more in the industry and doing stuff and working. Oh, I worked with this producer. I tried this or did that, or now I'm doing all sorts of little creative projects or gigs or whatever it was. But having that backup of teaching, it kind of just kept me going, and so that I can still do this now as an old man,
Yeah,
Like,
I get it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm just kind of thinking about it.
Yeah, I wonder also teaching, at least for me when I do coaching and stuff like that, it kind of helps you learn the game better.
Big time. What do you coach?
I do business coaching.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just not a ton, but it's enough from chatting with business owners or soon to be business owners or people that are dreaming of being a business owner.
That's awesome.
They're still kind of dipping their toes. I teach some business planning classes and stuff like that.
That's right.
And it's interesting just chatting with people that don't know anything other than I have this idea. And you walk them through what it takes to get that, like what it's going to take for it to come to fruition and what do the finances look like and marketing and all that jazz. And it helps me remember like, oh yeah, I was there once a long time ago. But it grounds you to the point that you remember all the stuff that you had to go through and all the hurdles and ugh.
That's interesting. I mean, none of this stuff came natural for me. I was kind of more of a hippie back, I was like, I will teach you a guitar lesson. And like, but like, actually our buddy Rocker, and he was on your show, right?
Yeah.
Rocker. So, with Maximum Inc. and I think now it's Maximum Inc. Radio that he has now. I think.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But, he kind of helped me 100 million years ago. We were in a band together, I guess after that, but he kind of got me doing this like one free guitar lesson, right? That's my little thing. Boom, one free guitar lesson. And like, and when he told me about it, I was like, you're insane. I'm not going to do that. That's, oh my God. And he was just like, try it. And like, finally I'm like, okay. And I did it. And it was so wildly successful. I was like, oh my God. And he kind of like talked me through all these different eventualities and all these things that happen. And like, I learned from it, and how to process it and whatever. But the concept was really strong, because it's like, all right, I'm a little more expensive, but I'm giving like a higher quality product. Let people just experience it for themselves and see if they like it. And then most of the time they come over and they're like, oh yeah, I want to do this. Maybe they're like, oh, I don't have budget or whatever, but everyone's having a good time. And like they, generally people sign up. And so, and I did it here. I did it when I was overseas. The principle just kind of worked. And but he got me into that. And so now I'm running it again. That was it was good timing because actually I'm just about to launch this like in the next day or so.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, oh, perfect for the podcast. I'm going to be one free guitar lesson in Madison. Yeah, if there's some Prairie people watching. You said you're what, like 10, 15 minutes away or something like that?
Yeah. Not even. Yeah,
cool.
Day. It's hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah.
Great. So and it's been fun. It lets people check out the studio. And myself, it's no obligation. Make sure you love it. Helps me find people that are fun to work with and want to learn. And yeah, it's been, and I did, I just put together I didn't even know what a marketing funnel was until like a month ago. Like if you would ask me, I don't know. It sounds scary.
You've been doing this for a couple decades and marketing funnel?
Never knew. Never heard of it. Maybe I heard the word, but I was like, I don't know what that means, and, but I built one, and so you click on the little text thing and then it takes you to this cool little website, tells you some of the experienced people I played with or recorded with or whatever, and about lessons and what I do. And then you click on that and then you can schedule a Zoom call and be we can customize your first lesson, make sure it's a good fit, whatever. And then you come in for the lesson and everything's it's kind of a funnel, and we'll add video and new pictures and whatever as we go. And probably different ones. I do a lot of weird instruments. I do music production. So the ukulele or whatever it is, we'll add different ones. But I just made this, and it's really exciting. But even before launching it, which is this weekend, I just told people like yourself on the phone that called me hey, I want lessons. I found you on the internet. I don't know. And I was just tell you what, I'm gonna be running the free lesson, right? I think that's what I told you. Just come on in and check it out and whatever. And yeah, it's been great. Everyone's kind of, almost everyone's signing up, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, it's been really fun. And at some point I'm going to be okay. And it's been over a decade, I think, since I ran this. So
wow.
Yeah, things were just chugging along so nice. And then I started traveling. I did a little teaching while I was overseas and running around Asia this winter, but mostly I didn't answer my phone for 3.5 months, 2 years in a row. I was
so then you get a little dry stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I was still doing fine, but I was I should probably market this again. I should probably be, so you'd not be a lazy musician. All right, let's go. So yeah, that's great.
Got it. That's awesome. I imagine when people work with someone like you versus just working with a 16-year-old kid that's just do this. You've seen so much of different people with finger styles, different guitars, different likes as far as music and stuff like that. So oh, you want to play this? This is what you got to do.
Totally. Thanks. Yeah. It's really interesting to be able to, people get some different things really trigger people in a good way. I had a guy the other day who was I really want to learn slide. And I think he thought it was going to take him a million years. And I just was here, have a dobro. We're going to open tune it, do this. And he was just mind blown. I got him, he'd already could play a little guitar. So he just, and that's what I like to try to do is just in the first, we might've done that. I don't remember, maybe that first lesson, didn't I have you kind of with one finger doing playing some simple songs, open tuning a guitar, oh my God, I can play a 3-chord song immediately. That's awesome. It usually takes 6 months or whatever. I'm no, let's do it today. And that builds confidence. And
totally.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, where it sounds somewhat like music.
Like music.
Okay, I'm progressing.
Yeah. Totally.
Swimming, where as long as you can stay afloat, we can learn how to swim.
Yeah.
You assume you're just going to sink like a rock.
Right. It doesn't have to be that way. And I also I like to meet people where they're at, but also whatever their tastes are. So if you're into Metallica, yeah, let's do some metal. If you're into folk music or you're into whatever it is, blues, I'm pretty eclectic. I like to play a lot of styles and blend them and stuff. So
I was trying to see a pattern here. I don't see a pattern. You got everything. I don't even know what that.
All those weird inserts that are hiding from the camera. Yeah. We'll do a little tour later if you want. My messy studio, but the instruments from just all over the world, and I kind of, there's a few that I really really specialize in, and then a lot that I'm this is so interesting. I wonder if I could play this, and you just get one, and each instrument kind of. You get when I got a sitar, it was that's how they do that. Like, you play the sitar and it sounds like Indian music just right off the bat. You know, it's like, wow, cool. And like, or like when I got like a real nice 80s metal style guitar with like the hardcore Floyd Rose whammy bar, where and you can bend the notes like the strings go floppy when you do the whammy bar. I was like, that's how they do all that 80s metal stuff.
That's
like,
how it works?
Yeah. Like, so much of the stuff, the instrument makes a big difference, you know? And so you get your hand, or you try a fretless classical guitar or a banjo or whatever it is, like, oh, it sounds like a banjo. It's a band, you know, all these things. And so it's been so fun to experiment. And then people actually want to take lessons on the mandolin or the ukulele or whatever it is. And so I teach a lot of this string stuff, and I'm a pretty quick study, even if it's not my main thing, you know. And I did a lot of loops for Sony, some for Apple and other smaller companies, but like, they would have me record little parts, and then a producer could take my riffs and put it into their like hip hop track or their EDM or whatever they're doing. That was like another gig I got into.
So those loops, did you create them, or they told you what to play?
They give me a lot of leeway. They're just kind of like, we like what you do, go nuts, make us a bunch of. So like Sony, I did 3 loop CDs for, and it was just like lots of variety. I'm doing like wah wah electric banjo, or I'm doing like Vietnamese zither, or what, anything you can imagine, and I'm just jamming. And then one time I had an intern do it with me, or another times I do it myself. I would like cut the loops into like little pieces that then a producer could take that, and you know, maybe it's just like, who knows, you know, wow, 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 whatever it is, and they're like, oh cool, I'm going to take that, I'm going to pitch shift it, I'm going to make it go backwards, I'm going to do whatever I want, I'm going to put this beat under it, and they could just blend it into their music. So I got into that, and that got me into I started doing a lot of production for people, just even a lot of hobby stuff, and then once in a while, like maybe playing on people's recordings that actually were doing something in the industry. But a lot of times it was just for fun, you know, people, singer-songwriters, my students, whatever. And then I got hit up by David Doman, and D.A. Doman. He's a producer, and he is doing like, everybody, Tyga and Eminem and like Beyonce. Like, he's kind of worked with that whole like world of like rap and now R&B artists. And when I started working with him, he was he wasn't that well known, you know, but he had like a minor hit in England, and he was starting to grow. I remember at one point he was like, dude, you want to do some more loops? I'm the number 2 producer in the world. And I was like, what? And I started looking like, oh wow, like he had a hit with Eminem, and he had a hit with this Kodak Black and all this. I was like, holy cow. So Chris Brown, whatever, all those kind of rapper people that I wasn't that aware of, but I was kind of like, oh, I've heard those names. But he would have me sometimes do little loops like that he could put into his music, or he would have me compose. So like, he would actually do this thing where he'd be like, listen to this Beyonce song, learn it, then do so many chord substitutions that it's unrecognizable, which I guess Van Halen used to write like that too. Like, they take popular songs, substitute till it's something totally different. And then he'd have me play like some weird ethnic instrument on top of that. Like, I'd do it on the guitar, and then some, you know, a Greek bouzouki or whatever. And then he would like produce that with like hip hop beats. And so I'll play some of that if you want to B-roll. Oh, I don't know if we can use it there, but anyway, I'll play it for you. But anyways, so I got into that, and none of my stuff made it, unfortunately, with him. But he was good. Yeah, well, he would do. That's like a great example. Like, he probably has done over 10,000 of what he calls them joints. They're just like these little musical, like, you know, 3-4 minute beds that a rapper could rap over or a singer could sing over. And out of those, let's say 10,000, you know, maybe I don't know exactly, maybe he's sold 50 and maybe 30 were hits or something. I don't know. So the odds, he's just cranking them out with tons of, not just me, tons of writers. And so
he's got his funnel.
Oh, he's got, yeah, big time, dude. I mean, it's massive. And at some point I was kind of like, okay, cool, I'm bowing out, but it was interesting. I learned a lot, you know. I learned a lot. It was kind of like going to grad school and having like a producer, and he would just be like, tighter. I'm like, what? Like, stuff that was totally rock and roll tight was not R&B rap tight. You know, they wanted, it's almost got to be plastic. It's got to be perfect, you know. So I had to like play perfect and then edit more perfect and just
So when they say tighter, what does that mean?
like exactly on the beat, exactly on the grid, like
Okay.
like to a microscope, zoom in on the computer and shift it
So where
over.
an electric guitar is a little bit of
Well,
either direction kind of
I
thing?
mean, it's how you play it. So
Okay.
but like you could play the electric guitar or whatever it is super tight and like it would make it on a Queen record, no problem. But for one of these records, they're going to be like, go in there, edit it, quantize it, move it over a little bit more, like just make it
So it's almost
microscopically
surgical.
perfect. Yeah, like you programmed it with beats and the computer.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's a lot of times they'll do that. They'll like trigger, like you play a riff on a guitar or whatever, and they'll just hit a button to re-trigger it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see Ed Sheeran do that live sometimes, right?
I think you're talking more about looping. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
so he would do that with like a foot pedal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got into that too. That was a whole nother like little back there. I had the whole studio like or stage of like looping all these weird ethnic instruments, but a little different because
Okay.
the producer he's hitting little pads. I don't know if I have one here, but they're like oh yeah, like on that keyboard behind you that's lit up.
Yeah.
I don't know if it shows up, but like basically so you could be like hello, hello or whatever.
All right.
And then you let the computer quantize that so that the rhythm becomes perfect on the grid. And so it was just a different style. It was interesting. I learned a lot, but it kind of that whole relationship evolved out of doing the loops for these different companies. And I guess that kind of evolved out of me just being into weird instruments and stuff.
Who's got one of these?
Yeah, I do. I've got one. I probably do back there somewhere. Like, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So from a business point of view, with you teaching,
Yeah.
how has that evolved over? How long have you been doing this?
It's my 40th year.
40th year
Yeah.
teaching.
I started when I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like 55 and a half. So yeah, I can say 40 years complete in half a year.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's gotta. I imagine that's changed because music certainly changed since then. The availability of music has certainly changed since then. What people like, the training or the lessons changed over the course of that 40 years. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you're a 16-year-old kid. You got a chair. They got a guitar, and you're like, okay, do this.
Yeah.
And now they got a guitar and a chair, and you're like, do this. How has it evolved?
Yeah. Some of it's really similar and or the same. And some of it's changed a lot. I think one thing is like there's a lot of like back then, very few people even had books, let alone like YouTube videos and free internet tabs and stuff. So it's a lot easier and quicker now when someone brings in a request, like I want to learn this song. The first thing I do is I'm like on Google or whatever, and I'm pulling up the chords or the tabs or whatever. And even if it's not perfect, it's so close usually that I can like fix whatever mistakes are there and I can learn it. So it's really fast. I don't have to do everything from scratch by ear. Saves a ton of time. Also, like people do learn a lot online nowadays, which is I think is great. Even if they're like, a lot of times they call me and they're like, I'm kind of confused. Like I've been learning all this stuff, but I don't know what to work on. And they hit plateaus, but that's okay. Like, cool. You learned some stuff, you got some basics. That's great. Like it saves me a lot of the most like maybe mundane stuff of just having to teach people the beginner. It's like, oh, you learned a few chords on YouTube or whatever. Great. Cool. Let's go from there. Some people don't, some people do, but that's it, like I kind of work with that so I can help people go to the next level and try to put it all together. Like, okay, you learn that scale. Awesome. Now let's learn how to jam. And then there's a certain amount that it's hard to get from the internet, like having a good groove, having, rhythm, like the book or the video won't be like, dude, you're totally off beat. Let's work, right. But I will, but I'll try to be nice about it, but I'll tell them, so
Right.
Tactful and say, so, but I let people know and so that they can really work on that stuff. Also, like, it's really, everyone's got access on their phone. You can have a drummer now, you pull up GarageBand or Loops or app or whatever on your phone. And I'm like, jam with Kyle there on your GarageBand on your phone. That's your new buddy. All these cool, cheap pieces or free pieces of technology that weren't there before. It's so much harder. So, or getting people into recording and production, for like, $100, $200, somebody can get into like recording at home. And I can be like, man, like I've done a lot of remote teaching where I'm like, teach people how to produce and they'll like record the rhythm guitar and the lead guitar and the bass on maybe even on their guitar or whatever it is saying. and you can produce your own album in your bedroom, or just even learn guitar that way. I think like that kind of stuff really evolved. Also, I kind of evolved into doing more group rock band type classes and bluegrass band classes, acoustic, whatever, like little jam bands that I can pull my students together to play together.
I love that idea.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I can give them a longer session. And they get that like wow, I'm playing with real people. Like there's drums and bass and 2 guitars, and I never thought I'd do that, and there's things that are hard to teach one-on-one, like playing dynamically, like volume, or really listening to other people, or like some of the most important things are harder to teach one-on-one. But in a band, you're like, hey, like So those things change. I'm trying to think what else. That's a really good question. I'm kind of going, what's changed? But some of the stuff is really similar. It's like, I mean,
still a guitar and chords and
it really is.
Yeah.
Also, like, I guess another thing, I just recently had some kids in here, 13-year-old kids, that unrelated. One was coming for guitar, one was coming for drums. But what they really wanted to do was music production. They, they wanted to be like the rap producer, and even though like I was on the other side of it with the producer I was mentioning, like I got a good taste of what he did. I know it. And certainly for a 13-year-old kid, I mean, I can really help them, like, you want to make beats. And I was more the guy playing real instruments with like a rap producer. But still, I know how to do I like his end of it, kind of. So I can show them like how to program beats, how to use software, how to, how the music fits together, how to use the keyboard to create their tune, and how to be creative. Like just have fun, make up a cool set. Have your dad record the sentence. Okay, let's sample it now, whatever. And they love it, So it's like a whole new thing that didn't used to exist. And now a kid can get started for, you got a laptop, you're willing to invest, I don't know, $100, like, let's go. You've got a little mic and a little audio interface, or, and that is crazy that they can do it. And honestly, it's a little more fun for the kids sometimes, and they don't have to be quite as disciplined, to like get good at it. Like an old fashioned instrument takes a little bit more focus, which it's a good thing, but also, why not if someone just wants to make, more modern style music? So that never existed.
So the end result is a song.
Yeah.
But there wasn't the level of talent to get to that song.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
An argument could be made that it's not as strong.
Absolutely.
It's actually playing an instrument.
Sure. But, it's funny. Like, think about, like, auto-tune, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people kind of, like, that's auto-tune. They didn't have that when I was a kid. Boo, right? But then, like, I was thinking about it. Like, the Fender Precision bass, which is like a normal electric bass by today's standards, I think it came out in the 50s, I think. And that was like the first, as far as I know, fretted bass. Like it had frets. Before that, basses had no frets, and you just slid around, kind of like an upright bass, Okay. And I don't know this for a fact. I'm totally hypothesizing. I need to find an old dude to talk to, and like, but like, I bet back then they're like frets on a bass. Boo, come on. That doesn't take any talent. I have no idea, but that's kind of what it's like, really. Because the frets are kind of like auto-tune, and it tunes you don't have to be out right on the target. You just put your finger anywhere in the right area. And, and so, and yeah, and with a guitar with chords, you almost have to have those frets because too many fingers, everything can't be right in the right place.
You got to figure out where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. So I think there's levels of that, but the people that are making that music, they're making cool music. People are enjoying it. They're getting paid. Like, who am I to criticize it? And I think as like a teacher too, I mean, or even if I'm producing, it's like, everybody else can be a music critic. That's not really my job. Like, Fair. I'm not there to, like, you like Taylor Swift? You're a 13-year-old girl and you want to learn. That's awesome. Let's learn Taylor Swift. You hate Taylor Swift? You love, Metallica? Cool. Let's learn some Metallica. Like, I'm not there to be like, I don't like that kind of music. Like, I'm like, I like it all. And you're going to end up learning a lot of the same fundamentals and the same chords, whether you're learning Metallica or Taylor Swift, same chords. same notes, a lot of the same scales and everything. But like, who am I to say which is better?
I'm not teaching you that music sucks.
Yeah, right. A lot of teachers will probably do that, but that's not
like, man, your money's green today. I like Taylor. Tomorrow I like Metallica.
It's
rock
funny.
and roll.
It's funny. Yeah, I mean, I might even be like, wow, the snare drum sound on that Taylor Swift song is pretty cool. Like I look for the good in it, and there's always good in it. I mean, there's a reason these people are really popular.
Well, there's musicians presumably there's musicians back there. It's not just some computer pumping it out or something like that. So,
and even if it is, right? Like, cool. That's really, some of that music's so interesting. I learned a lot checking out DJs and electronic music people. Like, oh, how do they do that? You know, it's fascinating.
I remember, what was the movie about the DJ? I think it's We Are Your Friends or something like that. There's a little scene in there where the guy's describing the beats per minute.
Okay.
And like that scene, the rest of the movie's whatever. But that scene was pretty interesting because I had heard, and I like a lot of dance, techno-ish house music, whatever like that. I didn't know anything technically about it. I'm just like, use a computer, whatever. And it was interesting how he's going through this is 150 beats per minute. This is 170. In that scene, I was like, oh, that's what I'm listening to. Like, oh, okay. There's an actual science to it.
Oh, yeah.
Almost instead of just some guy just...
Oh, definitely.
jumping up and down,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and the guys that are really good, like DA, the producer I mentioned, who's working with all those rappers, like he was a drummer. He like studied drums or whatever as a kid, and he studies now like jazz piano just to learn all these chords, and like, you know, takes lessons with some guy who's probably amazing in LA. Like, he studies composition. Like, he takes it pretty seriously.
Nice.
Yeah, even though he's probably self-taught and he, you know, did a lot, but like, there's a lot to learn there. Yeah, you can get
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But I get what you're saying about different, even if you don't necessarily like the song, there's little pieces that you can pick out of there where you're like, oh.
Absolutely. And if there's, you know, if someone comes in with different, maybe it's not something I would listen to at home for fun or whatever, just chilling out, but yeah, I'll always find the good in it. And if I'm like, oh, that's pretty, like, that's at your level, like maybe it's a beginner, I'm like, that's easy, that'd be and you love it, let's do it, because I wanted to show you those chords anyway, and it's got 3 of them, you know. So
oh, nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. So I'm always kind of just strategically looking for stuff that my students like, that will help them kind of, you know, walk up the ladder.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Thanks.
That's smart. That's smart. I love it.
It works. Yeah. And then I might be like, hey, let's jam on that song. Like, let's learn how to improvise.
Yeah. That's cool. Tell me a story. I wanted to ask you about the building.
Okay.
So when you're 16, you didn't have a building for people to...
Right.
Students to come in.
I used to go to people's houses to teach.
Yeah, so tell me about how that evolved over the course of time.
This studio, yeah. So this studio is like 1,500 square foot. It's like the size of a house. Yeah, and this room has low ceilings, but all the other ceilings are super high, right? So it's awesome for jamming. I love it.
When did you decide to get it?
This building, and I just rent. It's not even mine, but this is it'll be 10 years, I think, in November. So I think November 2015.
Okay.
So
were you went from nothing to this?
No, I had another space, and I had just come back, and I was traveling. I'd just come back to the country after a bunch of years. So I was on the west side, near West Side, kind of Mount Street. There was a little building that was getting torn down, so I had to, and that was much smaller, but it was cool. And previous to that, when I was out of the country for a while, but when I was in Madison, I would tend to rent a whole house and like teach out of there.
Oh.
And that was really cool too, actually. That was really nice. And I could like play with my band and like, you know, do that stuff. This place, I think I just was looking, and I called the landlord, and he's like, you know, have you heard of so-and-so? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, he's an engineer that used to have the space. I'm like, really? And he's like, have you heard of so-and-so? I'm like, yeah. And like, she was an engineer that I was like, this sounds kind of serious, actually. Like, you know, and sure enough, I got here, and yeah, there's the window to the control room, and
so this is already laid out?
This was laid out. Yeah, I added a lot of the some of the soundproofing and color and whatever, but it was actually already set up.
Oh, nice.
I didn't have to do that, and that was like, it was kind of turnkey, kind of. I had some work to do, but that was awesome. And actually, like when I first, it was funny. I'll tell you, you got me thinking. When I first got to Madison, so I'd been teaching. I did a degree in guitar at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, and they had a great music program. Anyway, and I came up here. I was playing on the street. I'm sure Grandma was proud. Whatever. He's like, "Oh God, he just finished college."
My street musician grandson, right?
Yeah, but things evolved really fast, and I came up with like a pickup truck full of instruments. I had like $100 in my pocket. I had some posters for guitar lessons. That I did on my parents had a copy machine, so I had loads. I had my buddy's phone number because he had a house, and I had a tent. I put my tent in his backyard, and I was playing at the farmer's market and stuff like that, State Street. And by the end of the summer, I had saved up a bank account of money that I could show a landlord, be like, no, really, I can live here. And and I had a full schedule of students that had just seen me playing out there. And it was amazing. And then, ended up just kind of getting into more, getting an apartment and then getting a house and all that. But it was pretty cool. Like Madison was very welcoming, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, people were very, very kind of supportive and just liked what was going on. So
tell me a story about the street musician thing.
Yeah.
Because that's always been, to me, I feel like you have to have some skills to do that. We were, where were we at? We were in the Twin Cities. And we were walking by this guy that was a street musician. He was banging on a bucket.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he had any skill.
Okay.
And I figured, man, if you're going to be a street musician, you're banking on tips.
Yeah.
Like you should
be good.
You should be good.
Well, there's all levels, right? So that there's definitely people that, it's probably kind of almost like, what's the word? Like kind of a begging kind of thing, or it's just kind of like, I'll pay you to leave, whatever.
Well, the rule that I had was if you stop to listen, then you should throw something down.
Okay.
But if they're not good enough for you to stop, or you got stuff to do, like you're on your way, like we don't need to pay anything.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be like, let's check this out. Sounds kind of cool.
That's a nice rule, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a mix, right? There was a guy out here, Josh Cohen, that I never got to see him live, but he was busking out here, and I think the city stopped him, and it was kind of
okay. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
or there's some kind of license, or
so it's tricky. I think, yeah, and it's really limiting, and I think I never had to deal with it. They were always really nice to me. I'd get crowds, people were cool, the cops were just like great, like everyone's happy, it's peaceful, it sounds good.
It's bringing some culture to the city,
right? They'd walk by. But this guy was, even though I didn't see him live, I saw some video and I'm like, he's really talented. He was doing like two-handed tapping on a bass. And of course he's plugged in, and kind of jazz style. And I think they fined him or they gave him a ticket or whatever it was. And I don't know the whole story, but he ended up leaving. So I don't think he was going to fight it. And it was a whole thing. But I guess my point is things may have changed by now in 2025. I don't know what to expect. But I put together, I'll show it to you later, maybe we'll film it. I put together a crazy rig with and maybe you can see the umbrella from here. I don't know. We'll go look at it. But it's kind of Mary Poppins, and it's got it's a bicycle trailer with a bunch of my weird instruments. And I'm going to have an amp, and there's even a solar panel if I want. And there's and I can do the bells on the feet and the shakers on my feet and all this stuff. And it's kind of a lot to bring around, but I kind of want to do it just to harken back to the old days.
Yeah, the one-man band.
Yeah, and just do it for fun and kind of get a vibe. And since I'm doing my little free guitar lesson promo, so I'm talking about it now so that I make myself do it. Because part of me is like, am I really going to do that? But I think it would be fun. Get one Saturday morning when the weather is great.
Yeah.
Get down to the farmer's market and just have fun.
Be a blast.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
It's weird. So in my head.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example. It was just in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Austin, Texas, I was in there 10 years ago, and they had Rainy Street. They have Rainy Street. Rainy Street's a bunch of houses turned into bars. And you have bands and stuff like that. Like, band will be on the deck, band will be in the kitchen. And a whole street, few blocks, super awesome bars everywhere. 10 years later, so I was there last year, and I think it's the tallest building in Texas is being built on Rainy Street.
Oh.
So ironically, they're just destroying,
yeah,
from my point of view, like it's progress, but they're destroying the culture.
Yeah.
Like Austin, Rainy Street was an attractant. So from my point of view, this one-man band thing, that's going to be something like even amongst the skyscrapers and all that crap, whatever the city's going to have, the dollar stores and the whatever, that it's bringing something cool and unique to that city.
I hope so. I mean, they may be like, no, you have to do it this way, and you have to like have us hire you, and you have to. But I think like that would take the fun out of it for me. Like I would be kind of just like, I don't want you to pay me. I just want to like. I mean, I guess I'd keep an open mind, but like, I just want to show up if I feel like it. That day. I'm not in the mood. I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
I'm in the mood. I'll do it. Like I'll do it when I feel like it. That's kind of the beauty of it. You know, you don't feel like you're like, oh, got it. Oh, 15-minute break. Got to get back there. You know, it's like
you're on from 1 to 1:15.
Yeah. You better like if you want to chat with someone, chat. It's just super laid back and it's on your own terms. And I think that's what's so neat about that gig, and I always loved it. I used to do it outside of Grateful Dead shows.
Oh, nice.
It was awesome. People would always give you a free ticket, and like, yeah, that was super fun back in the day.
That's cool.
That was really cool.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about is when it comes to tipping for a street musician, $1, $5 ain't what it was 40 years ago.
No, that's true. Like I said, I haven't really done it since then, but I guess I popped out a few times, maybe like when I got back to town, like 10 years ago. But
I wouldn't feel like here's $20, right? Like,
right, that's a lot for right. So I think you just do what you're comfortable with. I think the whole thing that I like about it is kind of like the free guitar lesson. You know, it's free. I hope you like it. You can walk by, you can partake. If you want to throw some cash at it, that'd be really cool. If you don't, no problem. Like there's no pressure, there's no obligation. You just like you interface with it however you feel good about it. You know, if you want to buy a CD or whatever, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is. And so it's not really about like what's expected. I think people just do what you want, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, maybe people take a video and they post it on Facebook or something, and like that's great promo for you. Or
as long as they tag the guy or girl, whatever, whoever it is.
Exactly. Tag the guy.
It's not just some random person. It's this person to help promote.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But people kind of, you know, I think some people have that, like you have that internal sense of like, oh, I should probably do something appropriate here. I stopped. I'm going to throw him $1 or $2 or whatever it is, or $5, or, you know, you're like, maybe not 100. I maybe not 180. You know, that's
they'd have to be really,
they'd be really good. But you know what?
We better see some Hendrix here.
Yeah. When I did go out there like 10 years ago or whatever, when I got back to town, I got some bookings for like private parties right off the street, and those paid real money.
Gotcha,
you know,
okay.
Those were real gigs. I mean, so I think that stuff happens too. You know,
got it. So it's almost an advertising for you.
That's all it is.
Okay,
it's just ads. Yeah, the tipping to me is almost just like I have a job. It's cool, but I mean, yeah, sure, throw some guys.
I mean, they got the guitar case open, so I figured,
sure,
you're showing off your talent. Got it.
Yeah,
Go
ahead.
Well, there was one guy I saw playing buckets where he was actually doing this thing with his foot.
Yeah,
to kind of lift the bucket.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's some skill there.
There you go.
I don't know where you go to learn how to play buckets, but he was amazing.
Yeah.
We probably watched that guy for 5-10 minutes, whatever. So
Yeah.
I had no problem throwing him money.
Right.
The other guy was just like,
You're like,
a 5-year-old could do what you're doing.
You know, at the same time, like I don't know this guy's situation, but there's some people that like that's how they develop. Like they go out there and they work on it and like, yeah, you don't got to tip them or enjoy it or stop or anything. But if he does that day after day and he actually works on it, and it's not just some, you know, thing, but he actually like develops, maybe he's taking lessons on the side. Who knows?
Hopefully.
You know, hopefully. Exactly.
Get better.
But he might actually get better. You know what I mean? So it does give people a chance. I certainly went out there and I wasn't perfect. And it's a great place to not be perfect.
Well, just from my point of view, this particular guy, he was so bad.
Yeah.
Like this was literally a guy, there was no recognizable song. It was just like, I found a bucket in a dumpster and I got a couple pencils. So let's just sit here and see what happens. It was one of those where I'm like, oh, either your mom told you that you're good at this and she lied, or you just don't have anything else to do and you're just going to see what happens. So good luck. We got pity money coming through.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's a lot of that.
Be quiet.
That's funny.
Get lessons, whatever. Something like that. Brad, how can people find you?
So if you, bradleyfish.com, or if you go on Google Maps, put Bradley Fish guitar lessons in there, you'll see where the studio is. You'll find reviews that are awesome. What else? You can call me. I can put my number out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a cell phone area code 217-552-9407. 217-552-9407 or bradleyfishmusic@gmail.com, and it's BRADLEY fish FISH music @gmail, and you'll find me. And
social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I've actually got a YouTube channel. It's a little messy, but there's some stuff out there. Yeah, I think it's Bradley Fish Music on YouTube, or just put Bradley Fish, you'll find stuff. And what else? All that. Facebook is Bradley Fish Music. I think I haven't been active with Instagram, but it's on.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah,
social media stuff. It's
TikTok.
A lot.
Yeah, I'm about to get back into it. We're about to start shooting some videos. So
Nice.
I've been on a hiatus, but here it comes slowly. Next round, and yeah, you'll find me. You're welcome to do the one free guitar lesson. Come check it out. And
you do remote lessons as well, is that right?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So I'm in Madison, but I'm also teaching online to anywhere, and it's pretty awesome. I'm doing so with guitar and also with banjo and ukulele, I've got like and dulcimer also. I've got an animated fretboard, so that when I play, you've got like all of me in the picture. You've got just the close-up of my guitar on another camera. And then you've got an animation that goes along with my guitar neck. So if you can't quite see, because my little chubby little fingers are in the way, you can see like dots on a guitar fretboard that happen in real time as I play. And it works really well. So I've got like nice sound, nice visuals, and you get an automatic recording of the lesson online, which is real cool.
That's incredible, because that was one of the challenges that I had when I was trying to learn on YouTube.
Yeah,
they'd be like A, D, G. I'm like, where your fat fingers are right in the way? I can't tell. And on the video, the actual neck of the guitar is this tiny little section.
Right.
So I'm like, where's A?
Right.
Are you trying to pause the video while you're doing the guitar thing? It's
yeah. I love that. I've gotten really good feedback about that.
Yeah,
that
that's
animation.
Smart.
Thanks. And
that's smart.
So yeah, and as I want to do, I like traveling. I like these weird ethnic instruments and go to Asia and try something or whatever. So as I do that stuff, I love the option to still be able to keep lessons going with people, and and then come back to Madison, rock out in the studio.
And, yeah. Are you still playing concerts and stuff like that?
No, I did like, I think it's been a year since I did like a wedding gig.
All right.
And so I had to kind of go, okay, I'm getting busy. What am I going to really like focus on? And it was almost just like, okay, cut that. And I'm not saying never, but not right now. I'm going to be focusing on creating video content of jamming. Right. So like creative content, jamming on video.
Fair.
And if somebody's like, puts a gun to my head and says, I'm going to make it worth your while, come do this gig, I'll do it. I still enjoy it. But
they really want you to play.
They really want me to play. If they really want, they'll make it worth my, yeah.
What I love about taking lessons with you is you take this guitar that I have and I'm like, hey, bam, bam, and you just rip. Just crazy psycho rip. And it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, as long as I can learn that, the tool is correct.
Thank you. I had this thing here the whole time, and I never. Yeah, this guitar's cool. It's carbon fiber, so it doesn't care if you're hot, cold, humid, whatever. There's 4 bolts on the back, and they come off, and then the neck and the body could detach, and you could put it in a suitcase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And of course I didn't tune it before we started, but oh my God. Your poor viewers.
No, it's all good. They can see how to tune a guitar.
Yeah, right.
So that's something. I've never seen a carbon fiber guitar. I didn't even know that was the thing. But they'll make carbon fiber anything. This is a little pickup.
I added so it's got like 3 pickups. That's so funny. I was so concerned about getting the place cleaned up. I didn't tune the damn thing. It was such a mess in here before you came. So it's got 3 pickups. It's got an acoustic pickup that you would use for like an acoustic gig. It sounds like an acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. It's got an electric guitar pickup right here that if I got like if I want to play heavy metal on this thing, I can just put it through an electric guitar amp. Or
Oh, really?
Yeah, or like for lessons, if I'm teaching heavy music, like alternative or metal or whatever, I can do like synthetic amps and stuff, like basically software that makes it sound like you're running through a big,
All right.
amp, Marshall stack, or
Yeah.
and then this is I took off. There was a synthesizer pickup, and that would do the little animations, or you can make it sound like a flute or piano. But that's my carbon fiber.
That's
Good. So yeah, I figure if we're gonna talk about guitar, I should
Yeah, right? Can't
Probably.
just chat. We got to jam, man.
gotta land. Yeah. No, it was actually really interesting for me to kind of just. You got me thinking about business, so I appreciate all the questions.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love, like, you can teach people how to do this.
Thank you. Yeah, quick. Awesome.
That's awesome. Woo!
All right.
Bradley, thank you so much for
Thanks.
being on the
It's
show.
awesome
This is
to-
awesome.
yeah.
Good times.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. What do we got to say here? My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by, that's what I'm supposed to say, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, offering call answering services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Bradley Fish of Bradley Fish Music. Bradley, can you tell us that website one more time?
www.bradleyfish.com.
Nice, I love it. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome, and if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.
All right. I had to give you a
cool.
little background music.
I love
for
it.
that.
I love it. I gotta take you with me everywhere I go.
Yeah, totally. All right.
That's awesome. Woo.